I've come to discover that time doesn't really heal. As I've mentioned earlier, that the stubbornness within me to figure out things, this desire to know, this desire to say, is this all to life? Should I just be happy with where I'm at? One of the things that personally drove me was this thinking that I don't want to become a statistic of my community. So I saw faces and places and people walking away, caught up in drugs, caught up in early teen pregnancy, caught up in so many different circumstances. Who has come to the place where life is not worth living. No vision, no direction, and no purpose in their life. And even though I find myself within that and in that, I told myself, I'm not going to become a statistic of my community. Not because I've got anything against my community. But something about me being Christian truly came alive within me when I started to realize that there is more to life. That my uneducatedness, that the fact that I'm black in a country that is 20 years out of apartheid, and where we still have legions and legions of systems of injustice that still runs and still operates within this nation, and so I can go on with a list of the reason why I should not be optimistic about life. Why I should not think and dream big and imagine a life of beauty, a life of creativity, a life of purpose. But something about the gospel, something about the truth of who Christ is and what he became personally to me truly changed me. It made me a new person within, and as I walked with him and as I grew with him, something within me changed. And that is not to say that my physical circumstances changed. But as I mentioned earlier, I think there is a certain stubbornness that we need. A certain stubbornness that I sort of utilize, that I sort of say like, hey, you can throw me against the wall. Circumstances can throw his best at me. But I'm going to get up. I'm going to stand up. And I'm going to move forward. And so therefore, the credit does not belong to the man sitting or standing on the sideline. The credit doesn't go to the person who has got the best opinions and the best advice about how things need to be done and where we need to do things and how we need to do things. No, the credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena. The man who stands and who fights, and every time when he gets punched down and every time when he gets hit in the face, flat on his face, where the crowds roar, with a sense of defeat. He stands up, barely breathing, barely having control over his body. He stands up and he continues to fight. He continues to walk. And in doing so, and in standing in the arena, fighting, being made fun of, he doing it whilst doing it daring greatly. And so I think this is what we need. I think we need people with a certain kind of tenacity. I think we need people with a certain kind of stubbornness. People who are saying like, I see, I recognize, the odds are against me, and I might not make it. I might not get through this. I might not even get out of this. But by no means is that gonna stop me from pursuing the things that I love. That the best moments in life is not standing on the podium, being the victor, having conquered. But the best moments in life is the journey. It's between the starting point and the ending point, where we've learned from one another, and where we have discovered so much about ourselves, and where we've overcome so much. Yes, the podium is important, but it's not as important as the journey. Because it's in the journey that we learn to walk together. And if we do it as a family and as a community and as a church and as a people, we become better people. We become stronger people. And so that was important for me. That stubbornness was important for me. Yes, today my circumstances are not very much different than what it was 20 years or 10 years ago. But here's one thing that is definitely different. The way I view life. My outlook on life. I'm ever so more optimistic about life than what I was yesterday. And so here's what I think we need. We need people of faith. We need people of courage. We need people who are able to sit in their very difficult moments, in their very uncomfortable moments. We need people to sit in that moment and say, I'm gonna sit through this, and I'm gonna allow this to speak to me. And when I'm done listening, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna dust myself off, and I'm gonna continue the journey ahead. We need some stubborn people. We need some people who are not afraid. To make themselves vulnerable, for that matter, to open themselves up to scrutiny. Faith, no matter what faith you deem to be faith, is not true faith unless you truly act upon that. I think as a Christian, being in church for so long, I know a lot of people of faith who have the faith, but have never really acted upon that faith. Because they know when they act upon that faith, it's going to require of them to move into circumstances, and to move into situations where they didn't want to be. So yesterday night, I was in the church like that. Around about 200, 300 people. You know what the weird thing is? I was the only person of color there. It's quite uncomfortable. It was quite weird. But you know what is amazing? Because in that moment, I got to experience a different part of humanity. I got to experience a different culture, and I got to appreciate that. I got to see the gospel. I got to see Christ not just only manifested, but in the sphere and the norms that I'm comfortable with. But even in those spheres that I seem to judge a lot, that I tend to look down a lot, and so this is my journey as I figure out my Christian faith and the relevance of my Christian faith in this day and age. What does it truly mean to be a follower in this day and age?